There once lived a pair of twin sisters who, strangely enough, grew up to become each other's greatest rivals. Sonia and Sophia, they weren't identical, but they were definitely inseparable, until they weren't. From early childhood, they clashed over everything they laid hands on, whether it was toys, clothes, shoes, or even their parents' attention. One day, Sonia shattered a glass cup on Sophia's head just because Sophia had used her favorite mug for tea. In revenge, Sophia swapped Sonia's shampoo with a hair removal cream, just 2 days before Sonia's big cultural dance at school. By the time they were 14, their home was a full-on war zone. Sonia once left Sophia outside in a rainstorm for 3 whole hours. Sophia got even by filling Sonia's school bag with paint the night before a major exam. Mr. and Mrs. Wabada, their parents, were completely drained. Chaos was the norm, and all attempts to bring harmony between their daughters failed miserably. One evening, things took a dangerous turn. A heated argument escalated into violence, slaps flew, plates shattered, there was blood on the wall, and a candle nearly caused a fire after being knocked over mid-fight. That was the final straw for Mr. Wabada. He made the tough call to separate them. Sonia was sent to live with his brother in another city, leaving Sophia at home. The twins were thrilled to finally live apart. For the first time in their lives, peace settled in. Sonia moved to Port Harcourt and blossomed. Her uncle was a tough disciplinarian but had a kind heart. Under his guidance, she became focused, driven, and more mature. She joined the science club at school and eventually won a statewide robotics contest. Meanwhile, Sophia, back in Enugu, also discovered tranquility in her own way. She dove into painting and dance, passions she'd never explored because of constant rivalry. Her calm, self-assured nature began to flourish, and her academic performance improved significantly. But everything shifted when the sisters turned 23. Sophia got married in Enugu to a man she'd been dating since her university days. Sonia wasn't invited, Sophia preferred it that way. She settled into her new life and soon became pregnant. Her husband, Chima, was a respected architect with a top-tier firm managing elite projects all across Nigeria. He was loving, gentle, and adored her deeply. But his job kept him on the move, and at 7 months pregnant, Sophia often stayed home alone. She passed time preparing for the baby, setting up the nursery, shopping for newborn clothes, and organizing every little detail. One afternoon, Chima returned from another work trip with news. As he rested his hand on her baby bump, he said gently, "Babe, the company's sending me to Lagos for a month." "It's a last-minute assignment," Chima said as he gently caressed her baby bump, "one of our top clients specifically asked for me." Sophia's smile faded as she looked at him. "So, you're leaving me behind again?" she asked softly. But Chima smiled and shook his head. "Actually, you're coming with me. I already booked us a place, right by the sea." Sophia's eyes lit up. She had never set foot in Lagos before, and the thought alone made her heart race. She packed with excitement, eager for a change of scenery. A week later, they arrived at the stunning Sea View Apartments. Everything was just as Chima had described, modern, stylish, with floor-to-ceiling glass walls opening out to the ocean. For the first time in weeks, Sophia felt like herself again. Each morning, she'd stand on the balcony in her flowing maternity gown, sipping on a chilled mocktail, humming lullabies to the baby nestled inside her. Lagos felt magical. She was enjoying every second of it. One sunny afternoon, she decided to explore the estate and stumbled upon a cozy salon tucked away in the corner. Wanting a fresh wash, she walked in and took a seat, waiting for her turn. Then, out of nowhere, Chima walked in, accompanied by another woman. Sophia blinked. Her heart sank. What was her husband doing in a salon, with her? She stood to confront them, but froze the moment she got a good look at the woman beside him. It was Sonia. Her twin. The same twin sister she hadn't laid eyes on in nearly 10 years. As it turned out, Sonia had moved to Lagos and now ran a smart home tech company. The same company that had partnered with Chima's firm on this exact project. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Her belly heaved with each labored breath. Of all the people in Lagos, why did it have to be Sonia? Chima had heard stories about her twin, but never had the chance to meet her, until now. In that moment, he looked like a deer trapped between two fierce lions. Nobody said a word. But the silence screamed volumes. Sonia smiled and moved in for a hug, but Sophia stepped back. She wasn't ready to fall for any of her games. She grabbed Chima's hand and stormed out of the salon. "Work with someone else," she demanded. "You're not doing this project with my sister." Chima tried to stay calm. "Sophia, she and I were both specifically chosen by the client. There's no way to change that. It's not personal," he added gently. "It's just business." But Sophia's instincts screamed otherwise. That old, familiar feeling had returned, the one she always got when Sonia set her sights on something, or someone. She recalled how Sonia once stole her childhood best friend just because she called Sophia her favorite twin. Or how she flirted with her high school crush, only to spite her. History, she feared, was about to play itself out all over again. She begged Chima to drop the project. But he didn't see any danger. He reassured her that she had nothing to fear. And because she trusted her husband, Sophia decided to let it go. But Sonia was just as confused. She had never met Chima before and didn't even know he was her sister's husband. Yet something about him stirred emotions in her that she couldn't explain. At first, she tried to ignore it. But each passing day made it harder. The late-night design meetings, the shared laughter over building plans, the way he said her name, all of it sparked something inside her that she struggled to control. She kept her distance, doing everything she could to suppress the feelings that had begun to rise, but the more time she spent around him, the harder it became to hold them back. Eventually, the weight became too much. One rainy evening, they were working late at the project site. The lighting was soft, shadows dancing across the room. Rain drizzled gently against the windows as Chima stood close beside her, explaining a new structural layout. Sonia wasn't hearing a word. Her eyes were fixed on his mouth, the way it moved, the passion behind his voice. Without even realizing it, she reached out and touched his arm. Chima looked at her, and in that moment, something cracked open. They kissed. Just once. But that single kiss became the breach in the dam. After that, there was no turning back. They began meeting secretly, in the office, in hotel lounges, even in Sonia's car tucked away in the estate's secluded corners. Their connection was reckless, consuming, laced with guilt, but neither of them stepped away. Sonia started to convince herself that destiny had made a mistake. That maybe, just maybe, Chima was never meant for Sophia, but for her. As for Chima, he'd never felt anything quite like it. Sonia was fierce, magnetic, full of fire, the very qualities that once drew him to Sophia. But now, Sophia was quiet, drained, overwhelmed. He told himself he still loved her. But being with Sonia made him feel alive again. And so, it continued. Months passed. Then, one afternoon in Enugu, Sophia went into labor, alone. In a hospital room, gripped by pain and betrayal, she gave birth. Her cries echoed through the corridor while Chima was miles away in Lagos, wrapped in bedsheets with her twin sister. The hospital staff tried reaching him. His phone was off. Sophia brought a beautiful baby girl into the world. But her tears didn't come from the agony of childbirth, they came from the hollow ache of being abandoned. 3 days later, Chima walked back into their Enugu home. Sophia sat silently, rocking their newborn to sleep. He froze, ashamed. He hadn't been there. He had chosen another place, another woman, her own sister, on the day his child was born. The guilt clung to him like wet clothes. But even that shame wasn't strong enough to stop what had begun. Sophia finally looked up. Her eyes were tired, expressionless. "I named her Zakora," she said softly, still rocking the child. "It means, show the world, because one day, I will. I'll show the world what betrayal really looks like." Chima stood still, his guilt crashing over him like a wave. He stepped forward, wanting to speak, to explain, but she lifted her hand. "Don't," she said calmly. He tried to apologize, weaving excuses for his absence. But Sophia could smell another woman's perfume clinging to him, even as his mouth delivered lies in a trembling voice. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She simply rose to her feet, gently placed baby Zakora in the crib, and walked into the bathroom. She locked the door and leaned back against it. And finally, the tears came. Not out of weakness, but because she was done pretending she wasn't broken. Back in the room, Chima sat at the edge of the bed, eyes locked on the crib. The baby's gentle breaths filled the silence, soft and innocent, everything he wasn't. His hands began to tremble. He reached for his daughter, the tiny soul he hadn't even touched until now. As he cradled her for the first time, something shifted inside him. What had he done? How did he end up entangled with his wife's twin? With a deep breath, he grabbed his phone, ready to end things with Sonia once and for all. But before he could dial, his phone rang. Sonia's voice came through, shaky and soft. He could hear her crying. "What's wrong?" he asked, his pulse quickening. "I'm in Enugu. I need to see you. Now." His chest tightened. Carefully, he placed the baby back in her crib, walked to the bathroom door, and tapped gently. "I'll be back soon," he whispered. But Sophia didn't answer. The sound of running water echoed behind the door, her way of shutting him out. Grabbing his car keys, he rushed out. Minutes later, he met Sonia at a secluded restaurant far from their home. She sat curled into a corner booth, red-eyed and trembling. As he approached, his heart thudded in his ears. "What's going on?" he asked. Tears rolled down her face as she spoke. "I lost the baby." Chima's eyes widened. "You were pregnant?" The words landed like a blow. He collapsed into the chair, stunned. "You never told me." "I was going to, but then I lost it," she said, wiping her tears. He buried his face in his hands. The weight of what he had done came crashing down. He couldn't go on like this, it had to stop. "We have to end this," he said quietly. "This, whatever it was, it's over." Sonia's expression twisted in disbelief. "You're leaving me? Now? When I need you the most?" "It was a mistake," Chima said, voice shaking. "I'm married to your sister. This was never supposed to happen." Sonia's eyes blazed. "So now you're picking her?" Chima stood his ground. "There's no picking. I already chose, long before I met you. Sophia is my wife. Please, don't call me again." And with that, he walked out, leaving her behind in tears. Back in her hotel room, Sonia sat in shock. Her hands trembled as she thought about everything they shared. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Chima to Sophia, not again. Not this time. Her rage bubbled up. She packed her suitcase and drove through the night. When she arrived, she banged on the door like a woman possessed. Sophia opened it slowly, her newborn tucked into one arm. She stopped in her tracks at the sight of Sonia on her doorstep with luggage in hand. A chill ran through her as she asked, "What are you doing here?" Sonia barged in. "I'm not going anywhere," she declared. "So what if he chose you?" "I won't disappear like I never mattered." Sophia let out a bitter laugh. "This was your plan? Stab me in the back, then move into my home like some stray dog?" Sonia's voice snapped. "I have just as much claim over Chima as you do. I'm carrying his child. It was a lie, but a calculated one. Sonia knew exactly how to cut her sister down, and this was the weapon she chose. She was willing to say anything to tear Sophia's marriage apart. From down the hall, Chima emerged from the bathroom, stunned to see Sonia standing in his living room. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Sonia looked him dead in the eye. "You won't pick me?" "Fine. Then I'll stay right here. Let's see how long you keep up the act of being a devoted husband, with both of us under the same roof." Chima tried everything to get her to leave, but Sonia refused. She carried her suitcase into the master bedroom, the same room where Sophia and Chima shared their life. And just like that, the home turned into a war zone once again. Chima stood frozen, unable to process the chaos he had let in. Chima begged Sophia to give him time, to help him get Sonia out of their home. But Sophia didn't respond. She stood in silence, fury simmering beneath her skin, watching her sister shamelessly settle into the master bedroom like she owned it. With a quiet resolve, Sophia packed her belongings and moved into a spare room down the hall. After much pleading and shame, Chima followed her, leaving Sonia alone in the room where betrayal had taken root. But night brought no peace. Sonia lay in bed, eyes wide open, her mind churning with resentment. The thought of Chima sharing a bed with Sophia sent waves of bitterness through her. She couldn't stand it. She wouldn't stand it. So she devised a plan. The next morning, while Sophia stepped out to buy diapers, Sonia moved quickly. She cooked breakfast and carefully laid it out for Chima, placing a handwritten note beside it, signed with Sophia's name. She knew he'd never touch a meal from her hands, so she faked the gesture of a loving wife and quietly left, waiting for her trap to spring. Soon, Chima emerged, groggy but hungry. He saw the note and smiled faintly, thinking his wife was finally softening. He sat down and began to eat. But the moment he sipped the tea, a strange dizziness overcame him. His head spun. And right on cue, Sonia stepped out of her room, draped in her sister's robe and wearing her perfume. She played the part flawlessly, guiding a dazed Chima back to the master bedroom like a puppeteer controlling her strings. He was too disoriented to notice. Hours later, Sophia returned from the store. She walked into the bedroom, and froze. There they were, her husband and her twin sister tangled in sheets. Her heart didn't break, it shattered. But she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She pulled out her phone, took photos, and posted them online. The caption was simple and brutal: "Twin steals her sister's husband." The internet exploded. Within hours, Sonia's phone rang non-stop, calls from investors, sponsors, and partners. Her brand, once a rising name in smart home technology, began to crumble. Her backers pulled out. Contracts were cancelled. She was dropped from every endorsement. Chima wasn't spared either. His firm couldn't withstand the scandal, especially with the project's reputation built on innovation and integrity. They asked him to resign quietly to protect their image. The story spread like wildfire. Blogs, influencers, and gossip platforms latched onto the drama, amplified by the fact that Sophia had just given birth weeks earlier. Public sympathy flooded in for Sophia. People rallied around her, and organizations offered support, some even raising funds to help her care for her newborn. Meanwhile, Sonia's empire crumbled. She sat alone, her phone buzzing with bad news. Her career was collapsing. Her image, destroyed. Sonia was livid. She had lost everything: her career, her reputation, the man she thought she loved. In her mind, Sophia had to pay. And so, driven by vengeance, she visited a powerful spiritualist, determined to end her sister's life. But what the man told her left her shaken to the core. "To kill Sophia," he said, his voice grave, "is to kill yourself." Sonia stared at him, baffled. "What are you talking about?" she asked. The spiritualist looked her dead in the eyes. "You and your sister are not just twins by blood. You are reincarnations, two souls from a former life. Sworn enemies who destroyed each other in a bitter feud. You killed each other then. And now, you've returned, this time, as twins. Sonia's mouth went dry. Her heart pounded. She pressed him for answers. He continued, your destinies are bound. If you harm your sister, your spirit will follow hers. The same destruction will repeat itself. And worse, if the hatred between you continues, it will poison both your lives, leading only to more suffering and, eventually, death. The words echoed in Sonia's ears like a curse. Her anger melted into horror. She stumbled out of the shrine, the weight of the revelation pressing down on her like a boulder. The hatred she'd nursed for so long, the rivalry, the betrayal, the obsession, it all suddenly made sense. Tears welled in her eyes as she reached her car. Her fingers gripped the wheel, but her vision blurred. Her mind spun in chaos. The past, the present, the pain, it all collided. And now she understood why the urge to hurt her sister had always felt so natural. So justified. It wasn't just jealousy. It was something far deeper. Something older. The endless fights. The unprovoked hatred. The burning urge to destroy Sophia, even when she'd done nothing wrong. Sonia finally understood, it had never been just jealousy. It was a curse, one that began long before they were born. And unless she broke it now, it would drag them both into an early grave. She arrived at Sophia's house minutes later, her hand trembling as she stood before the door. Guilt pressed down like a weight on her chest. At last, she knocked. Sophia, having just put baby Zachora to sleep, rushed to the door. Her eyes widened when she saw her sister standing there, disheveled, tear-streaked, broken. "Why are you here?" Sophia asked, her voice low. Sonia dropped to her knees. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I came to ask for your forgiveness." Sophia stared, stunned. "You drugged my husband, you tried to ruin my life. What are you doing at my door?" "I went to kill you," Sonia confessed, her voice shaking. "But instead, I found the truth." Sophia's blood ran cold. "What truth?" And so, Sonia told her everything, the visit to the spiritualist, the revelation that they were reincarnated enemies from another life, doomed to repeat the cycle of hatred unless one of them chose peace. "If I had killed you," she said, "I would have died too. We're not just sisters, Sophia. We're souls tied together by an ancient curse. And unless we heal, we'll only suffer more." Sophia stood frozen, trying to grasp it all, but something in her believed it. Deep in her heart, it made sense. Then came the full confession. How Sonia drugged Chima that night, wore Sophia's robe, sprayed her perfume, all to deceive him into sleeping with her. How she lied about the pregnancy just to tear them apart. "I was desperate," she sobbed. "And wrong. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I don't want this hate to live inside me anymore. Please, if not for me, then for you, choose peace." Sophia stood at the doorway, staring at the woman who had hurt her more than anyone ever had. Her sister. Her twin. Her enemy. Her blood. But in Sonia's brokenness, she saw something she hadn't seen before, a reflection of her own pain. And something inside her softened. She forgave, not because Sonia deserved it, but because she deserved peace. Sonia wept with gratitude. She apologized again, even for the ruin of Sophia's business. But Sophia simply smiled and said, "I deserved better. And now, I choose better." Sonia returned to Lagos and began rebuilding her life, slowly, quietly. Not for revenge. Not to outshine anyone. But to live with integrity. With the help of a few loyal friends, she restarted her smart home consultancy from scratch, this time for the right reasons. Back in Enugu, Sophia's life also began to shift. Chima, overcome with guilt and remorse, worked hard to earn her trust again. Though he no longer held a high-profile job, he took honest work, whatever he could, to support his family. He became more present. More human. Sophia forgave him too, though it took time. She reminded herself daily, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward, even with a heart that still aches. Each day, she rose stronger, healing from betrayal, choosing peace, and holding her baby close as a symbol of the life she was determined to live. The curse had finally been broken. The lesson in this story is simple but powerful. Pain can travel through generations, disguised as jealousy, rivalry, and rage, until someone chooses to end the cycle. Sometimes, the people who hurt us most are battling demons we cannot see, or carrying curses we do not understand. But true healing begins when we choose peace over pride, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. Not because they deserve it, but because we deserve to be free. If this story touched you, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you for watching.